Admiral Tae-ho Kim was drinking his morning coffee when the emergency alarm started screaming across Luna Base. The sound cut through the quiet morning like a knife. He set down his cup and looked at the red lights flashing on every wall. Arnin, 30 years of military service, he had never heard that particular alarm before. It was the one reserved for threats to Earth itself. He walked quickly to the command center. Officers were running back and forth between computer stations. Everyone looked scared. The main screen showed an incoming transmission from deep space. The signal was coming from Nexus Prime, the massive space station where the Galactic Council met. "Sir, we have an urgent message from the Council," said Lieutenant Jae-min Cho. His voice was shaking slightly. "They want to speak with you right away." Tae-ho nodded and stepped in front of the main screen. The image flickered and then showed the council chambers. 12 different alien species sat in a circle around a floating platform. In the center stood Chancellor Vextar, a tall reptilian creature with sharp teeth and cold yellow eyes. His scales were dark green and covered in ceremonial armor that marked his high rank. "Admiral Kim of the human fleet," Vextar said. His voice was deep and threatening. "The Galactic Council has reached a decision about your species." Tae-ho kept his face calm, but his heart was beating faster. "I'm listening, Chancellor. For 50 years, humans have been members of our council. We welcomed you as a junior species, gave you knowledge and helped you grow, but you have betrayed our trust." Vextar's eyes became narrow slits. "Your military expansion has gone too far. You build too many ships. You develop weapons without permission. You act like you own the galaxy." High Magistrate Kelthara stepped forward. She was a crystalline being whose body looked like living diamond. Her voice sounded like wind chimes when she spoke. "The Council has been patient with human ambition, but patience has limits." Other Council members nodded their agreement. The Nebulan representative floated in its gas-filled tank, its tentacles moving in what Tae-ho knew meant anger. The Hive Queen's compound eyes glittered with hostility. Even the Luminary, beings made of pure energy, pulsed with threatening light. "What exactly are you saying?" Tae-ho asked. "We are saying this," Vextar replied. "Humanity will immediately cease all military production. You will surrender your fleet for inspection and downsizing. You will accept council oversight of all human vessels. You will remember your place as a junior species." "And if we refuse?" Vextar smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Then the Council will remind you why we rule this galaxy. We have maintained peace for 10,000 years. We will not let upstart humans destroy that peace." The transmission ended. The command center fell silent. Every officer stared at Tae-ho, waiting for his response. "Get me Captain So-young Park," he said quietly. "Use the encrypted channel." A few minutes later, Captain Park's face appeared on a smaller screen. She was at her diplomatic post on Nexus Prime, but she looked tired and worried. Her usually neat hair was messy, and there were dark circles under her eyes. "Admiral, I've been trying to reach you," she said. "The Council has been planning this for months. They think humanity is getting too powerful too fast." "How bad is it?" "Bad. They've already mobilized a peacekeeping fleet, 800 ships from 12 different species. The biggest fleet anyone has seen in centuries." She looked around nervously, making sure no one was listening. "They're treating this like a police action, not a war. They think you'll surrender as soon as you see their numbers." Tae-ho rubbed his chin thoughtfully. "What's their timeline?" 72 hours. They want your answer by then or they start shooting." Park leaned closer to the camera. "Admiral, they're serious. Chancellor Vextar has been telling everyone that humans need to be taught a lesson. He says we're like children playing with adult weapons." "I see. Thank you for the warning, Captain. Keep your head down and stay safe." After the transmission ended, Tae-ho stood quietly for several minutes. Around him, officers waited for orders. They all knew this moment would come, eventually. Humanity had grown strong quickly after joining the Council, maybe too quickly for the older species to accept. "Lieutenant Cho," he said finally. "Yes, sir? Send a coded message to all sector commanders. Use Protocol Horizon authorization codes. Jamin Cho's eyes went wide. Protocol Horizon was the most secret plan in human military history. Only a few dozen people in the entire fleet knew what those codes meant. Sir, are you sure? I'm sure. Tell them we have 72 hours to prepare. While Cho sent the coded messages, Tae-ho walked to his private office. The room was small and simple, with just a desk, a chair, and a window that looked out at Earth. The blue planet hung in space like a jewel, beautiful and peaceful. But Tae-ho knew that peace was about to end. He opened a secure file on his computer. The file was labeled Project Looking Glass. Inside were detailed reports about every council species, their military capabilities, their weaknesses, their political systems, everything. Human spies and diplomats had been gathering this information for 50 years, ever since humanity first joined the council. The council members thought humans were just eager students, grateful for alien knowledge. They never suspected that every piece of information they shared was being carefully studied and analyzed. Every insult, every dismissive comment, every casual revelation about military secrets had been recorded and filed away. Tae-ho smiled grimly as he read through the files. The council was right about one thing. Humanity had been building a large military fleet, much larger than they suspected. The 800 ships they were bringing would be impressive against most species, but the council had made one crucial mistake. They had never bothered to count human ships accurately. His desk communicator buzzed. "Admiral, we're getting responses to the Protocol Horizon signals," said Lieutenant Cho. "All sector commanders are confirming readiness. Good. How many ships can we deploy in 72 hours? There was a pause. "Sir, the exact number is classified, but it's significantly more than the council expects." Tae-ho nodded. That was an understatement. For 50 years, humanity had been building ships in secret locations throughout human space. Hidden bases in asteroid fields, underground facilities on remote moons, automated shipyards in the outer darkness beyond Pluto. The council knew about the obvious military bases, but they had no idea about the hidden ones. What about our new weapon systems? Dr. Hyejin Cho reports that all experimental weapons are ready for field testing. The kinetic bombardment systems, the AI missile swarms, the electronic warfare packages. Everything we've been working on. Dr. Hyejin Cho was the chief military scientist for the human fleet. She was also Jamin's older sister, though few people knew about their family connection. For the past 20 years, she had been developing weapons specifically designed to counter council military technology. Every piece of alien equipment humans had been allowed to study had been analyzed for weaknesses. Send word to Dr. Cho. Tell her it's time to find out if our theories work in practice. Over the next several hours, coded messages flew across human space. From Earth to the colonies, from the outer mining stations to the deep space research facilities, humanity prepared for war. Ships that had been hidden for decades started moving toward assembly points. Weapons that existed only in computer simulations were loaded onto vessels for the first time. Captain Park sent regular updates from Nexus Prime. The Council fleet was gathering at the edge of human space, making no attempt to hide their numbers. Chancellor Vextar was giving speeches about the need to maintain order in the galaxy. High Magistrate Kelthara spoke about the dangers of allowing primitive species too much military power. "They're not even considering the possibility that we might fight back," Park reported. Vextar told the other council members that humans will surrender as soon as they see the fleet. He says we're too young and too scared to risk a real war. Tae-ho laughed bitterly. The council had spent 50 years treating humans like junior partners, never quite equals. They had shared some knowledge but withheld the really important secrets. They had allowed human representatives in council meetings but never let them vote on crucial decisions. They had acted like patient teachers dealing with eager but naive students. Now they would learn what those students had really been learning. As the 72-hour deadline approached, Tae-ho received his final briefings. Human fleets were in position throughout the solar system and beyond. The new weapons were loaded and ready. Intelligence reports showed the Council fleet moving confidently toward Earth, expecting easy victory. "Sir," said Lieutenant Cho, Incoming. Transmission from the Council fleet. They want to speak with you. Put them through. Chancellor Vextar's face appeared on the main screen again. Behind him, Teho could see the bridge of a massive Saurian battleship. Through the viewports, hundreds of other ships were visible, all moving in perfect formation toward Earth. Admiral Kim, your time is up. Do you surrender, or do we have to remind you of your place in this galaxy? Teho looked at the alien leader for a long moment. Behind Vextar, he could see other council members watching confidently. They all expected him to give up without a fight. Chancellor Vextar, he said calmly, I have a message for you and the council. What is your message? General Dongwook Lee stood in the war room deep beneath the surface of Mars. The room was filled with dozens of holographic displays showing ship positions throughout human space. Each dot of light represented a vessel that had been hidden for decades, waiting for this moment. Around him, military officers worked at computer stations, coordinating the largest fleet movement in human history. Status report, he said to Colonel Hae-Jin Park, his chief of staff. All hidden fleets are responding to Protocol Horizon signals. The 3rd Fleet is moving from the asteroid belt. The 7th Fleet is leaving their base behind Titan. The deep space squadrons are coming in from the outer rim. She paused and checked her tablet. Total count is now at 2,147 combat vessels. Dongwook nodded. The number would have shocked the Council if they knew it. For 50 years, every human colony ship, every mining vessel, every research station had secretly included components for warships. While the Council saw peaceful human expansion across the galaxy, they were really watching the construction of the largest military fleet in galactic history. What about the new ships? The Phantom-class destroyers finished construction last week. All 48 are ready for combat. The Avalanche-class carriers launched their fighters for the first time yesterday. No problems reported. Colonel E. Park smiled slightly. Dr. Hae-Jin Cho's weapons are performing better than expected in field tests. On the main display, Dongwook could see the Council fleet approaching Earth. 800 ships in neat formations, moving slowly and confidently. Their formation was ceremonial rather than tactical, designed to look impressive rather than to fight efficiently. They were treating this like a parade, not a battle. Sir, called out Major Jin Woo Han from across the room. Long-range reconnaissance is reporting Council fleet composition. Jin Woo had been running secret intelligence missions in Council space for 15 years. His ships were equipped with the most advanced stealth technology humans had ever built. The Council had never detected them, never suspected they were being watched constantly. What do you see out there? Dongwook asked. 200 Saurian heavy cruisers, their newest class. 150 Vorthan crystal ships, mostly battleships. 100 Nebulan gas riders with their plasma weapons. The rest are smaller vessels from the other species. Jin Woo pulled up detailed scans on his screen. Their shields are strong, but they're using standard frequencies. Their weapons are powerful but slow to recharge. Formation discipline is good but predictable. Dongwook studied the data. Every piece of information confirmed what human intelligence had been reporting for years. The Council races were old and powerful, but they had grown comfortable. They relied on tried and proven technology instead of developing new systems. They followed ancient battle tactics instead of adapting to new threats. Any signs they suspect? Our true numbers? None, sir. Communications intercepts suggest they still think we have maybe 200 ships total. Chancellor Vextar has been telling his fleet commanders this will be over in hours. That was exactly what Dongwook had hoped to hear. Surprise was humanity's greatest advantage. The Council expected to face a small, desperate fleet of converted civilian ships. Instead, they would meet purpose-built warships designed specifically to counter Council technology. His communicator buzzed. General Lee, this is Dr. Hae-Jin Cho. Doctor, how are our weapons performing? Dr. Hae-Jin Cho was arguably the most brilliant military scientist humanity had ever produced. While other species developed weapons through trial and error over centuries, she had used computer modeling and captured Council technology to design perfect counters to alien defenses. Better than we dared hope, General. The kinetic bombardment systems are ready. We can punch through any known shield technology. The AI missile swarms have been tested against simulated council point defense systems. Success rate is 97%. Her voice became excited. And the electronic warfare packages are working perfectly. We can disable council ships without destroying them. What about their new crystal armor? The Vorthons think their crystal plating is impenetrable. They're wrong. Our kinetic rounds are designed to shatter crystal matrices. A few good hits and their armor becomes useless. Dong-wook allowed himself a small smile. The council had made the mistake of letting humans examine examples of their best technology over the years. They thought they were impressing their junior partners with demonstrations of superior engineering. Instead, they had given Dr. Cho everything she needed to design weapons that could defeat them. "Sir," called out Lieutenant So-Min Kim from the communications station. "Captain Park is sending an update from Nexus Prime." The main screen switched to show Captain So-Young Park's face. She was in her quarters on the council station, speaking in whispers to avoid being overheard. "General, the council is getting more confident by the hour." Chancellor Vexitar held a press conference this morning. He said humanity would surrender as soon as they saw the council fleet, and that this would be a lesson to any other species with inappropriate ambitions. What about the other council members? High Magistrate Kelthara gave a speech about the need to maintain proper order in the galaxy. The Hive Queens are talking about the dangers of allowing immature species too much military power. The Luminary keeps saying this is for humanity's own good. Do they suspect anything? Park shook her head. Nothing. They've classified this as a police action, not a military operation. Most of their fleet commanders have never fought a real battle. The council has been at peace so long that warfare is almost theoretical to them. That was another advantage for humanity. While the council had maintained peace through overwhelming force for thousands of years, humans had been studying warfare intensively. Human military academies taught the strategies of Earth's greatest generals. Human officers had studied every battle in recorded history, learning from both victories and defeats. "Thank you, Captain. Stay safe and keep reporting." After Park signed off, Dong-wook turned to his staff officers. The war room had grown quiet as everyone waited for his orders. "Ladies and gentlemen, in 6 hours the council fleet will reach the outer edge of human space. They expect to find a handful of scared humans ready to surrender. Instead, they're going to discover that humanity has been preparing for this day for 50 years. He walked to the main display and pointed at the approaching council ships. These aliens have ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. They think age equals wisdom and size equals victory. They're about to learn that innovation beats tradition and strategy beats brute force. Colonel Park raised her hand. "Sir, what are our engagement rules?" "We disable when possible, destroy when necessary. The goal is to end this war quickly with minimum casualties on both sides. But make no mistake, if they force us to fight, we will fight to win." Around the room, officers began implementing final preparations. Ships moved into attack positions throughout the solar system. Weapons systems came online for the first time. Fighter squadrons launched from hidden carriers. Major Jin Wuhan received new intelligence reports from his scout ships. "General, the council fleet has stopped at the edge of human space. They're demanding to speak with Admiral Kim." "Good. That gives us more time to get everyone in position." Dong-wook looked at the tactical display showing hundreds of human ships moving through space. "How long until all units are ready?" 4 hours, sir. The deep space fleets are still moving into position. Then we wait. Let the council think about what they're doing. Maybe some of them will get smart and decide to go home. But Dong-wook knew that wouldn't happen. The council's pride was at stake now. They had publicly threatened humanity and assembled the largest fleet in centuries. Backing down would make them look weak in front of the entire galaxy. Dr. Hyejin Cho's voice came through the communicator again. "General, final weapons check is complete. All systems are green. We're as ready as we'll ever be." "Thank you, Doctor. Your weapons are about to be tested under real combat conditions. I just hope we don't need to use all of them. Some of these systems are quite destructive." Dong-wook understood her concern. Human weapons had been designed to end the war quickly, which meant they were devastatingly effective. The Council had no idea what they were about to face. As the hours passed, more ships moved into position. The Third Fleet took positions behind the moon, invisible to Council sensors. The Seventh Fleet spread out through the asteroid belt, using the rocks for cover. Deep space squadrons approached from directions the Council wasn't watching. "Sir," called out Major Han, "we're intercepting Council communications. Chancellor Vextar is getting impatient. He's demanding that Admiral Kim respond to his ultimatum." "Any signs they're scanning for our ships?" "Minimal scans only. They're overconfident. They think they know where all our vessels are located." That overconfidence would be the Council's downfall. They had spent 50 years treating humans like inferior partners, never bothering to take human capabilities seriously. They shared some knowledge but kept the important secrets. They allowed human observers at Council meetings but never let them participate in real decisions. The Council saw what they expected to see: grateful junior partners who knew their place in the galactic order. Admiral Tae-ho Kim stood on the bridge of the EFS Indomitable, humanity's flagship. Around him, 50 other human vessels hung in space like a small defensive formation. To any observer, it looked like Earth's entire military response to the Council's ultimatum. The sight was designed to appear desperate, almost pathetic compared to the 800 ships of the Council fleet. "Admiral," said Commander Yoon Seo Lee, his tactical officer, "the Council fleet is requesting communication." "Put them through." The main view screen activated, showing Chancellor Vexatar on the bridge of his flagship. The Saurian leader looked even more arrogant than before, his reptilian features twisted into what passed for a smile among his species. Behind him, other Council members were visible, all looking pleased with themselves. "Admiral Kim," Vextar said, his voice dripping with condescension, "I see you have brought your entire fleet to meet us. How quaint." Tae-ho kept his expression neutral. "Chancellor Vextar, you have entered sovereign human space with a military fleet. This constitutes an act of war under galactic law." The Council members erupted in laughter. High Magistrate Kelthera's crystalline form chimed with amusement. "Galactic law? You speak of law to us? We wrote the laws that govern this galaxy when your species was still learning to make fire." "Perhaps," Tae-ho replied calmly. "But those laws apply to everyone, including the Council." "The laws apply as we see fit," Vextar snapped. "And right, now we see fit to remind an upstart species of their proper place. You have 50 ships, Admiral. We have 800. The mathematics of this situation should be obvious even to human minds." Commander Lee whispered in Tae-ho's ear. "Sir, all hidden fleets report ready. Waiting for your signal." Tae-ho nodded slightly but kept his attention on Vextar. "Chancellor, I'm going to give you one last chance to avoid bloodshed. Turn your ships around and leave human space immediately." The laughter from the Council fleet was even louder this time. Vextar actually slapped his knee, a gesture that looked bizarre on his reptilian frame. "You cannot be serious. You think 50 ships can threaten our fleet? We have vessels older than your entire civilization. We have weapons that can crack planets. We have shields that have never been penetrated." "Yes," Tae-ho said quietly. "We know about your weapons and shields. We've studied them very carefully." Something in his tone made Vextar pause. The Saurian's eyes narrowed as he studied the human admiral's face. "What are you suggesting?" "I'm suggesting that you've spent 50 years teaching us everything we need to know about your military capabilities. And we've been very good students." Before Vextar could respond, Tae-ho cut the transmission. He turned to Commander Lee and spoke clearly so everyone on the bridge could hear. "All ships, this is Admiral Kim. Execute Operation Rising Sun." Throughout the solar system, space itself seemed to come alive. Behind the moon, the massive ships of Third Fleet decloaked and began moving toward the Council formation. From the asteroid belt, hundreds of vessels emerged from hiding spots among the rocks. In the outer darkness beyond Pluto, deep space squadrons activated their engines and began their attack runs. On the Council flagship, chaos erupted as their sensors suddenly detected over 2,000 human ships approaching from every direction. "What is this?" Vextar roared. Where did they come from? His tactical officer, a nervous-looking Vorthon, was staring at his displays in disbelief. Sir, our sensors are detecting massive human fleets throughout the system. They must have been using some kind of stealth technology. Impossible. Humans don't have stealth technology that advanced. But the evidence was right there on their screens. Hundreds of ships were approaching from directions the Council had never bothered to scan. The humans hadn't just hidden a few extra vessels, they had concealed an entire armada. High Magistrate Kelthera's voice was sharp with surprise. How many ships do they have? Current count is 2,163 vessels, Magistrate, and they're all combat configured. The Council members looked at each other in shock. They had expected to face maybe 200 human ships, most of them converted civilian vessels with improvised weapons. Instead, they found themselves outnumbered almost 3-1 by what appeared to be purpose-built warships. Commander Jin Woo, Han led the first wave of the attack. His squadron of Phantom-class destroyers approached the Council formation at high speed, their new engines making them faster than anything in the Council fleet. All units, this is Commander Han. Remember, your training. Hit hard, hit fast, and show them what human engineering can do. The first volley of human weapons struck the Council fleet like a thunderbolt. Dr. Haijin Cho's kinetic bombardment systems had been designed specifically to counter Council shield technology. The dense metal projectiles, accelerated to enormous speeds, punched through Saurian energy barriers as if they weren't there. 3 Council heavy cruisers lost their shields in the first 10 seconds of combat. Their hulls, designed to withstand energy weapons, cracked and split under the impact of solid metal, moving at relativistic speeds. Impossible! Vextar screamed as he watched his most powerful ships take damage from weapons that shouldn't have existed. Human technology cannot penetrate our shields, but the evidence was destroying his fleet. More kinetic rounds slammed into Council vessels, causing explosions and hull breaches throughout their formation. Ships that had seemed invincible moments before were now trailing atmosphere and debris. Captain Mi Young-song led the second wave, her squadron equipped with AI-guided missile swarms. Each missile was equipped with advanced artificial intelligence that could adapt to enemy countermeasures in real time. When the Council ships deployed their point defense systems, the missiles simply changed their approach patterns faster than the defenses could track. Target the Vorthon crystal ships, she ordered. Dr. Cho says our missiles are specifically designed to shatter their armor. The results were spectacular. Human missiles struck the crystalline vessels and released shaped charges that sent shockwaves through the crystal matrices. The beautiful, gem-like armor that had protected Vorton ships for centuries cracked and fell away like broken glass. High Magistrate Kelthera watched in horror as her fleet's most advanced vessels were systematically destroyed by weapons she had never seen before. How do they know our weaknesses? How do they know exactly where to strike? She would have been even more horrified if she had known the truth. For 50 years, every time the Council had demonstrated their superior technology to impress their DO, human guests, human spies had been taking detailed notes. Every casual revelation about military capabilities had been recorded and analyzed. Every piece of equipment humans had been allowed to examine had been studied for weaknesses. The Council had thought they were showing off to grateful junior partners. Instead, they had been giving their future enemies a complete intelligence, briefing on their own military capabilities. Commander Lee watched the tactical display as human fleets converged on the Council formation from all directions. Admiral, enemy formation is breaking apart. They're trying to scatter. Don't let them, Tejo replied. Signal all units to maintain pressure. We need to end this quickly. The battle was turning into a rout faster than anyone had expected. Council ships that had seemed unstoppable were being disabled or destroyed by weapons that countered their every defense. The neat formations that had looked so impressive were now scattered clusters of damaged vessels. Captain Young-Ho Park led a squadron of the new Avalanche-class carriers. Each ship carried hundreds of fighter craft equipped with the latest human technology. The fighters were smaller and faster than anything the Council had, and they swarmed around the larger alien vessels like angry insects. Focus fire on their weapon systems, he ordered his pilots. Disable them. Don't destroy them unless you have to. The human fighters used precision strikes to knock out Council weapons and engines. Ships that had been firing moments before suddenly went silent, their weapon systems destroyed by surgical attacks that left the rest of the vessel intact. On the Council flagship, Vextar was receiving damage reports that got worse with each passing minute. "Sir, we've lost 40% of our heavy cruisers. The Vorthon crystal ships are nearly wiped out. The Nebulan gas riders are requesting permission to retreat." "Retreat? We are the Galactic Council. We do not retreat from primitives." But his officers were no longer listening to his speeches about Council superiority. They were watching their supposedly invincible fleet being systematically destroyed by humans who weren't supposed to have advanced military technology. Dr. Heejin, Cho's final surprise was unleashed 15 minutes into the battle. The electronic warfare packages that human ships had been carrying suddenly activated, sending out targeted signals designed to disrupt Council computer systems. The effect was immediate and devastating. Council ships that had been fighting desperately suddenly went dark as their primary systems shut down. Engines stopped working. Weapons powered down. Life support switched to backup systems. "What's happening?" Vextar demanded as the lights on his own bridge began flickering. "Unknown, sir. Something is interfering with our computer networks. All systems are experiencing cascading failures. The human electronic warfare attack had been designed using detailed knowledge of Council computer architecture." Admiral Tae-ho Kim looked out at the disabled Council fleet floating helplessly in space around Earth. What remained of 800 proud warships now drifted like broken toys, their crews trapped inside vessels that no longer responded to commands. But Kim knew this victory was only the beginning. "Admiral," said Commander Yoon Seo Lee, "we're receiving surrender signals from most of the Council ships, but long-range sensors are picking up new contacts. Looks like reinforcement fleets heading toward Earth." Kim nodded grimly. He had expected this. Chancellor Vextar's pride would never allow him to accept defeat from humans, even after seeing his entire fleet destroyed in 17 minutes. The Saurian leader would call for help from every Council world, mobilizing forces that hadn't seen battle in centuries. "How many ships?" "Multiple fleets, sir. Estimates suggest over 3,000 vessels from 12 different sectors. They're coming from Saurian space, Vorthon crystal worlds, Nebulan gas systems. Everywhere the Council has military bases." General Dongwook Lee's face appeared on the communication screen from his command center on Mars. "Admiral, we're tracking the same contacts. The Council is mobilizing everything they have. This is going to be the largest fleet engagement in galactic history." "Are we ready for something that big?" "We've been ready for 50 years, Lee replied with a confident smile. "Remember, we didn't just prepare to fight one Council fleet. We prepared to fight all of them." Kim turned to his tactical officer. "Commander Lee, signal all sector fleets. Execute Protocol Deep Strike." Throughout human space and beyond, encrypted signals reached hidden human task forces that had been waiting in the darkness for decades. While the Council scrambled to gather reinforcements for Earth, they had no idea that human fleets were already positioned near every major Council military base in the galaxy. Fleet Admiral Young-Soo Kang received his orders aboard the EFS Vengeance, hidden in the shadow of an asteroid near Nexus Prime. For 15 years, his deep space fleet had been secretly stationed within striking distance of the Council's capital station. The massive space habitat housed billions of aliens and served as the government center for the entire galaxy. "All units, this is Admiral Kang. We have authorization for Operation Checkmate. Target all military installations and government facilities. Avoid civilian areas when possible." His fleet of 200 ships moved out from their hiding places and approached Nexus Prime. The station's defenses were minimal. After all, who would dare attack the seat of galactic government? The Council had relied on their reputation for invincibility instead of actual defensive preparations. Captain Sungmin Park led another task force toward the Saurian homeworld of Reptilia Prime. His orders were simple: capture or destroy every military shipyard and weapons facility in the system. The Saurians had the largest fleet in Council space, but their ships were all built in predictable locations that human intelligence had been mapping for decades. "Remember," he told his squadron commanders, We're not here to conquer their world. We're here to make sure they can't build ships to replace the ones we just destroyed at Earth. The attack began simultaneously across 12 star systems, while Council leaders argued about how to respond to humanity's surprising victory at Earth. Human fleets struck every major military target within 50 light-years of human space. On Reptilia Prime, Captain Park's ships used kinetic bombardment to destroy orbital shipyards that had been building warships for 1,000 years. The Saurians watched in horror as facilities that seemed as permanent as mountains were reduced to debris in minutes. The Vorthon crystal foundries suffered a similar fate. Commander Yoonji Kim led precision strikes against the crystalline structures where the aliens grew their living ships. Dr. Hyejin Cho's sonic weapons shattered crystal formations that had taken centuries to develop, leaving the Vorthons unable to replace their losses. Even the mysterious Nebulan gas worlds found themselves under attack. Human ships equipped with specially designed atmospheric processors disrupted the gas clouds where the aliens lived and built their vessels. The Nebulans, who had never experienced warfare in their home environment, fled in terror as their civilization's infrastructure collapsed around them. Back at Nexus Prime, Admiral Kang's fleet surrounded the massive station. His ships were small compared to the enormous habitat, but they carried weapons that could crack the station's hull in seconds. Nexus Prime Control, this is Fleet Admiral Kang of the Human Defense Force. Your military facilities are now under human control. Order all defensive systems to stand down immediately. The response came from a panicked Vorthon controller. This is impossible. You cannot attack Nexus Prime. This station is neutral territory under galactic law. Galactic law was suspended when your council threatened Earth with military action, Kang replied. You have 60 seconds to comply or we will disable your station's defensive systems by force. The Vorthon controller tried to argue, but Admiral Kang had no patience for negotiations. Human Marines were already boarding disabled council ships throughout the system. Every government official, every military commander, every council representative was being taken into custody. Dr. Hyejin Cho monitored the simultaneous attacks from her laboratory on Luna. Her weapons were performing even better than expected. The kinetic bombardment systems were destroying targets with surgical precision. The electronic warfare packages were shutting down alien technology across multiple star systems. The AI missile swarms were adapting to new defensive measures faster than the Council could deploy countermeasures. General Lee, she reported to Mars Command, all primary targets are secured. Council military production is down by 90% across all monitored systems. Their ability to build replacement ships has been effectively eliminated. Lee smiled as he watched the tactical displays showing human victories throughout Council space. What about their government? Admiral Kang reports that Nexus Prime is secure. All Council leadership has been taken into custody. The station's defensive systems have been disabled, and human forces are in control of all essential facilities. The speed of the human victory was staggering. In less than 6 hours, humanity had gone from defending Earth against a single council fleet to effectively conquering the government and military infrastructure of 12 different alien species. Commander Jinwoo Han, leading reconnaissance missions throughout Council space, reported that alien civilians were reacting with shock rather than resistance. Most species hadn't seen warfare in centuries. The idea that anyone could challenge Council authority was so foreign that many aliens simply couldn't believe what was happening. Sir, he reported to Admiral Kim, we're not seeing organized resistance anywhere. Most Council worlds are just shutting down their remaining military systems and waiting to see what happens next. Kim wasn't surprised. The Council had maintained peace through overwhelming force for so long that actual combat had become theoretical. Their military officers were bureaucrats rather than warriors. Their strategies were based on intimidation rather than tactics. Meanwhile, Captain So-Young Park was still aboard Nexus Prime, but now she was no longer hiding. Human Marines had secured the diplomatic quarters, and she was helping coordinate the surrender of Council officials. Admiral, she reported, Chancellor Vextar is demanding to speak with you. He's claiming this entire operation violates every treaty and galactic law. Put him through, Kim replied. Vextar's face appeared on the screen, but he looked very different from the arrogant leader who had threatened Earth just days earlier. His scales were pale with stress, and his eyes showed the kind of fear that comes from watching everything you believe in collapse around you. Admiral Kim, you must stop this madness immediately. You cannot attack civilian targets. You cannot hold council officials prisoner. There are laws, the same laws your council ignored when you threatened to attack Earth? Kim asked calmly. Chancellor, your people started this war when they decided humanity needed to be taught a lesson. We're simply finishing what you began. But this is genocide. You're destroying our entire civilization. No, Chancellor, we're destroying your military capability. Your species, your cultures, your civilian populations are all safe, but your ability to threaten other species is over. Vextar stared at the human admiral with growing comprehension. You planned this, all of it. The surrender offer, the small fleet at Earth, everything was designed to make us overconfident. 50 years of planning, Chancellor. Every insult, every dismissive comment, every casual revelation about your military capabilities was noted and filed away. We knew this day would come eventually. But why? We gave you knowledge. We helped you grow. We welcomed you into the galactic community. Kim's expression hardened. You gave us scraps while keeping the important knowledge for yourselves. You helped us grow only as much as suited your purposes. You welcomed us as junior partners who would know their place and never challenge your authority. He paused and gestured toward the displays showing human fleets throughout council space. You created your own enemies, Chancellor. Every time you treated us like inferior children, you motivated us to prove you wrong. Every time you denied us full membership in your council, you pushed us to find our own path to power. The truth was even more devastating. Admiral Taeho Kim walked slowly through the great council chamber on Nexus Prime. The circular room where 12 alien species had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years was now quiet and empty, except for human guards standing at attention. The floating platforms where council members had sat in judgment were dark and silent. 3 months had passed since humanity's victory over the council fleets. 3 months since the most powerful government in galactic history had collapsed, in less than a day. Now Kim stood in the symbol of that fallen power, preparing for a meeting that would reshape the entire galaxy. Admiral, said Captain So-Young Park, approaching from the main entrance, the surrender ceremony is ready to begin. All council leaders are present. Kim nodded and looked around the chamber one more time. Soon this room would be filled again, but with representatives from every species in the galaxy, not just the 12 that had claimed the right to rule over all others. They walked together to the central platform where Chancellor Vextar and the other council leaders waited under guard. The once proud alien rulers looked broken and defeated. Their ceremonial robes seemed too large for them now, as if they had physically shrunk under the weight of their failure. High Magistrate Kelthara's crystalline form flickered weakly, her inner light dim with despair. The Hive Queen's compound, eyes stared at the floor, unable to meet Kim's gaze. Even the Luminari, beings of pure energy, seemed smaller and less bright than before. But it was Chancellor Vextar who spoke first, his voice hollow and tired. Admiral Kim, we are here as you requested. The Council formally surrenders all military authority to human forces. Thank you, Chancellor, Kim replied. But I want to be clear about something. This isn't about human dominance replacing Council dominance. This is about ending dominance altogether. Vextar looked confused. What do you mean? I mean that humanity didn't fight this war to rule the galaxy. We fought it to free the galaxy from rulers who thought their age gave them the right to control everyone else. General Dong-Wook Lee entered the chamber with a group of representatives from dozens of different species. These weren't the traditional council members, but delegates from worlds that had never been allowed to participate in galactic government. Species that had been classified as junior members, or protected populations, or simply ignored entirely. Chancellor, Vextar, Kim continued, I want you to meet the real representatives of the galaxy, not just the 12 species that claim the right to rule, but delegates from every world that wants a voice in their own future. Among the delegates was Ambassador Kai Jin Yu, a human diplomat who had spent years secretly building relationships with non-council species. Behind her walked representatives of the Peaceful Trader Alliance, the Free Mining Worlds, the Independent Research Colonies, and dozens of other groups that had existed outside council authority. For 50 years, Ambassador Yu said, addressing the defeated council members, you treated humanity as children who needed guidance, but we weren't the only species you dismissed. Hundreds of civilizations have been waiting for someone to challenge your authority. Dr. Haijin Cho stepped forward with a datapad containing detailed reports from across the galaxy. Chancellor, would you like to know what we discovered when we analyzed council records? Over 60% of galactic species have been denied representation in your government. Entire star systems have been governed by laws they had no voice in creating. Vextar's scales turned pale as he realized the full scope of what had been building against council rule. But we maintained peace. We kept order. Without the council, the galaxy would fall into chaos. You maintained your peace, corrected Fleet Admiral Young-Soo Kang, who had just arrived from securing the last council military installations. Your order. But peace imposed by force isn't real peace, and order that denies freedom isn't real order. Kim activated the chamber's main display system, showing images from across the galaxy. Worlds that had been under council control for centuries were celebrating their freedom. Species that had never been allowed to develop advanced technology were now sharing knowledge freely with their neighbors. Trade routes that had been restricted by council regulations were opening up, creating prosperity that hadn't existed in thousands of years. Look at your screens, council members, Kim said. This is what the galaxy looks like when species are allowed to cooperate as equals instead of being controlled by self-appointed masters. High Magistrate Kelthera finally spoke, her crystalline voice filled with confusion. But without central authority, how will disputes be resolved? How will laws be enforced? How will peace be maintained? Captain Park stepped forward with another datapad. We've been working on that, Magistrate. Representatives from over 300 species have agreed to form a new galactic assembly. Not a ruling council, but a forum where all species can have their voices heard. And enforcement? Asked the Hive Queen, speaking for the first time since her surrender. Commander Jin Woo Han answered that question. The new assembly will have peacekeeping forces, but they'll be volunteers from all member species, not the private army of a ruling elite. And their job will be to protect freedom, not enforce obedience. Vextar looked around the chamber at the faces of species he had never bothered to learn about during his years of power. You're asking us to give up everything we've built. No, Chancellor, Kim replied gently. We're asking you to share it. Your species have knowledge and experience that could benefit everyone, but that knowledge shouldn't be used to control others. Dr. Cho opened her tablet and showed the council leaders detailed technical specifications. For example, your crystal-growing technology could revolutionize construction across the galaxy. Saurian genetic medicine could eliminate diseases that have plagued dozens of species for millennia. Nebulan atmospheric processing could make uninhabitable worlds suitable for colonization. But if we share our technology freely, what advantages do we have? Kelthara asked. The advantage of living in a galaxy where everyone is working together instead of against each other, Ambassador Yu replied. The advantage of trade partners instead of subjects. The advantage of allies instead of enemies. Kim walked to the center of the platform and addressed all the council members directly. Your species developed amazing civilizations. You achieved wonders that younger species still dream about, but somewhere along the way, you confused achievement with the right to rule others. He gestured toward the diverse group of delegates filling the chamber. Look around you. These species may be younger or smaller or less technologically advanced, but they have ideas and perspectives that could benefit everyone. You've been missing out on the creativity and innovation of hundreds of worlds because you decided they weren't worthy of your attention. Vextar was quiet for a long time, staring at delegates from species he had never considered important enough to notice. Finally, he spoke in a voice barely above a whisper. How do we know this new system will work? How do we know it won't lead to war and chaos? You don't, Kim admitted. But you know for certain that the old system was creating enemies and resentment throughout the galaxy. Every species you dismissed as inferior was a potential ally you turned into an opponent. General Lee stepped forward with a final document. The choice is yours, Council members. You can participate in building this new system as equal partners, or you can refuse and watch it being built without you. But the old Council is finished either way. The former Council leaders looked at each other, understanding finally dawning in their eyes. They could continue to resist and be left behind by galactic progress, or they could adapt to a new reality where their wisdom was valued, but their authority was not absolute. One by one, they stepped forward to sign the documents establishing the new Galactic Assembly. It wasn't surrender exactly, but acceptance that the galaxy had outgrown the need for rulers who claimed power by right of age or tradition. As the ceremony concluded, Kim found himself standing alone with Captain Park near the great windows, overlooking space. Outside, ships from hundreds of different species were arriving at Nexus Prime, not as subjects reporting to their masters, but as equals participating in their own government. "Do you think it will work, Admiral?" Park asked. "This new system we're trying to build?" Kim watched a human ship docking alongside vessels from a dozen different species, their crews working together to prepare for the first meeting of the new assembly. "I don't know," he said honestly, "but I know the old system was failing. The Council ruled through fear and tradition for so long that they forgot how to adapt to change. We've given the galaxy a chance to try something different, and if it fails," Kim smiled and looked back at the chamber where representatives from hundreds of worlds were already beginning to debate and argue and negotiate with each other. It was messy and chaotic and loud, nothing like the orderly pronouncements of the old Council. "Then we'll try something else," he said. "That's what humans do. That's what all free species do. We adapt, we learn, we try again." As the first session of the Galactic Assembly began, Admiral Taeho Kim realized that humanity's greatest victory wasn't the defeat of the Council fleets. It was proving that the galaxy didn't need rulers at all, just partners willing to work together toward a better,